Hi, my name's Gregg Katz. I am Director of Innovation and Technology with the Shopping Center Group. And we're going to switch gears and talk a little bit about technology. Got with me today Alex Rangel, who's the founder and CEO of Ravti, Mike Westgate, who's the VP of Marketing with RealMassive, and Robert McLaws, who's the co-founder and CEO of AdvancedREI. We're going to kind of divide this up a little bit and do it a little bit differently. I'm going to let them talk a little bit about their technology and what their companies are all about. Then I'm going to take a quick, as a user of a lot of the technology at the Shopping Center Group, we're going to talk a little bit about how we use one piece of technology and what that looks like. Then we'll do a little bit of the round table and then move on to any questions and answers you guys have. So, Alex, why don't you take it away?
Perfect. We'll kick it off here with Ravti.
Commercial real estate owners and managers, listen up. We need to talk about HVAC. Yep, HVAC. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. If unfamiliar, there's 3 things you should know. 1, it's over $100 billion industry, and that's just in the United States. 2, it's completely fragmented. There are over 86,000 HVAC service companies. 3, it's 32% of every building's maintenance and repair budget, twice that of any other trade. Even with huge commercial real estate budgets, there's still no efficient and standardized procurement process for purchasing HVAC online. The majority of HVAC information is stored on carbon copy paper. This makes it nearly impossible for owners to make smart spending decisions based on historical data. Ravti solves HVAC management pain through software, enabling access to digitized equipment inventories, purchasing equipment direct, and rich asset management reporting. The future lies in smarter, data-driven decision-making. By adopting a proactive HVAC management strategy, each facility's net operating income directly improves. Ravti exceeds 100 million square feet on the platform, empowering facilities from coast to coast. And by supporting a range of sophisticated clients, from private owners to REITs to third-party property management firms, Ravti is saving organizations 9 to 12 cents per square foot per year. It's time to be the best at HVAC. It's time for Ravti.
Perfect. So there's just a quick little intro video on Ravti, but a little background on me. So I actually went to the University of Florida, did my engineering degree there, and then went and worked at Trane, the HVAC manufacturer, as a sales engineer for 5 years. So I left to start Ravti just to see a lot of the broken processes that were in HVAC. And the reason we focus on HVAC is because, like the video said, it's the largest maintenance and repair expense in commercial real estate, and it's completely fragmented. So we actually were started in Florida, and then we applied to a tech incubator out in Silicon Valley called Y Combinator. So we were accepted into that, and Y Combinator has done a handful of other big-name tech companies, such like Dropbox, Airbnb, Twitch, and a handful of others. So it's a pretty prestigious program. We were really honored to be a part of it. And then actually we had a Harvard Business School case study written about Ravti as well. So HVAC isn't the most fun thing to talk about, but hopefully we can make it interesting today. We tackle 4 main issues at Ravti. This was actually given to us by one of our REIT clients, and I was like kind of using what she said about it. She oversees 500 million square feet of triple net real estate, and she told us, 1, we have no idea what HVAC equipment we have on our roofs. 2, we have no idea if our tenants are actually maintaining our HVAC equipment. We have no procurement strategy to take advantage of our size and economies and scale, and we have no data to make better future decisions. So we tackle all 4 of those problems specifically with HVAC. And I'll pass it along here to Mike.
Thanks, Alex. And I always wondered what HVAC was, so thank you. I just learned something new. What was the A in? So I'm Mike Westgate. I lead marketing at RealMassive. We are the connected digital marketplace for commercial real estate. We deliver access, exposure, and insights to professionals seeking to modernize the entire industry. Access refers to our ability to automate, ingest, and present commercial real estate data. Exposure refers to our set of features and tools that helps us extend the visibility and the marketing capabilities around that data. And then insights refers to our analytics tools that help not only measure performance, but predict activity within the market and within properties and firms and professionals. So that's a little bit about RealMassive. I'll give, I guess, a little bit about myself too. My background's not actually in commercial real estate, so I'm learning every time I meet with folks like yourselves. Hope to connect with a lot of you outside after this. I started actually in consumer, so a lot of the retail discussion today is really exciting for me. I spent some time at General Mills and at Sara Lee. And then I went to Microsoft for a few years, spent some time on the agency side doing digital analytics, and then found myself in commercial real estate, I think at the perfect time as tech adoption and interest is growing. So really happy to be here and excited to have this discussion.
Right, my name is Robert McLaws. I'm a co-founder and CEO of AdvancedREI. I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. I am a five-time Microsoft developer MVP. I come at commercial real estate from the software side of things, but I consider myself a data scientist. And what that means basically is that I'm focused on how data moves between people, between organizations, how you look at data and what data can tell about various things. In commercial real estate, it's a really interesting time for data. It used to be, the main thing you hear was location, location, location. Now it's data, data, data. How do you make critical decisions based on the best data possible? And so that's what I focus a lot of my time on. AdvancedREI is a platform because commercial real estate has compulsive paperwork disorder. And what that means is every single group in the process has this almost compulsive nature to generate your own documentation on the deal, often using archaic software. So commercial real estate's almost a 200-year-old industry in and of itself. Excel is a 30-year-old software product. Now let me ask you, how many of you got into commercial real estate to sell product and do great deals? Can you raise your hand? I want to see. How many of you got into real estate to do deals? How many of you got into real estate to work on Excel spreadsheets all day? Oh, there's a couple. Okay, good. So that's great. I love it. But it's not fun, okay? So we're trying to take a process that's vastly inefficient, get everybody on the same page. As the decision engine for commercial real estate, when buyers, sellers, brokers, everybody is on the same page with the same standardized data, you get fewer errors, richer insights, and you can close deals faster. Because, I mean, let's face it, most everybody in this room is, on the clock, right? I mean, you're not getting paid by the hour. So it's important to get these deals done as quickly as possible. So here's a little bit about our product. So come in every day. We want to be the place where you go to understand what's going on in commercial real estate. So we got your dashboard with all of your properties, quick links to other tools to help you get the information you're looking for. And then our partner Credify has been generous enough to let us tell you what's going on, basically what happened yesterday in commercial real estate. Then if you're looking at a particular property, we give you a quick way to come in and get the information that most investors and underwriters are looking for first, which are the financials. So we help you understand of all of the data points that you can gather when you're putting these financials together. We help you bring the key ones together and then have a standard model. So you're not messing with trying to understand somebody else's view of their spreadsheet and then what the data is telling them through their perspective. We're just trying to get you to understand the numbers and understand how this deal is going to work. And then after you've put those numbers together, you can generate a PDF because, let's face it, even though these processes have been somewhat digitized, we're still reliant on these digital pieces of paper to move some of this stuff around. So that's what we do in a nutshell. Thanks for having me on the panel.
Okay, the techies have a technical error. So we'll go ahead and go into the Q&A part. So commercial real estate tends to have the reputation of being a technology laggard to a large degree. You guys agree, disagree?
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, commercial real estate's a 200-year-old industry. And how did you do the financials when you sold the first, multifamily property in 1849, okay? It was on a piece of paper, and you wrote out the rent roll by hand, okay? 100 and some odd years later, that hasn't really changed. You're still writing out the rent roll by hand in an Excel spreadsheet, okay? So a lot of the people in this industry are independent agents, independent representatives, and you're responsible for acquiring your own tools. Once you've been doing something a certain way for so long, it becomes, I want to say difficult, but there's a hesitancy to try something new, to change. And we've seen that quite a bit, especially in the financial side of things.
Yes, I agree. I actually place some of the blame on current providers. I think that they've hampered innovation and actually litigated against it. Case in point. And then two, business is good. So, I mean, innovation is the mother of necessity, or necessity is the mother of innovation, right? And I think, as a lot of the folks here would suggest, that business is good, traditional practices still work. There's no real forcing factor yet.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more as well. Commercial real estate is the largest driver of GDP in the United States, yet 1% of venture funding goes to commercial real estate technology. So I think if we just think about that, dive into the data a little bit, I mean, a fraction of venture money is going to come back to help you guys. And I think I'm certainly more on the operations side, so when I look at what I classify as like the sexy side of the business, the financing side, the dispositions, the acquisitions, there is tech there. And I mean, even if it's just Excel or a layer on top of Excel, it is there. On the operations side, there's very little data, and there's very little things to help. And typically the way we solve those things in commercial real estate is just by hiring people. So at Ravti, we certainly like to help with data-driven decisions. And so that's where I think of it. It comes back to the venture funding, even though it's the largest driver of GDP in the U.S.
Yeah, so data-driven decisions. We made a move recently to get away from demographics as kind of a deciding and driving factor of decision making. Started looking more at personality of the customer, psychographics, things of that nature, and started using GPS data and footfall data, which was mentioned a little earlier, to see how people are moving and give us a completely different perspective on and how people move and why they go to where they go versus drawing a 5-mile ring around a site, or no matter what kind of site it is, drawing a 5-mile ring and saying there's 100,000 people here, they're college educated, that 2.2 people in the household. Now we know that where they move during the day, how they move, where they live, and what kind of personality and what brand affinities they have to drive that. And so it takes the anecdotal of nobody ever crosses over this expressway or this river, or nobody will ever go past this center to get to this center, and it makes it factual. So, I mean, again, I think that data-driven decision point can make a big difference, and it's not meant to replace the relationships, replace the local market knowledge. It's meant to add to that and create some factual basis behind it.
Well, think about combining the concepts that these two talked about a second ago. So when you look at data in the industry right now, and there's one company that has an overwhelming dominance in terms of where you get commercial real estate decision data, okay? And you really have to think about, where is that data coming from? How was it procured, and how much can you trust it? So in today's world, and especially in 2017, a lot of people are thinking about, in the news and in politics and whatever, where's my information coming from? How can I trust this information? A lot of the data and a lot of the decisions that are made today come from somebody in a call center badgering your property manager until they give you an answer on what your operating numbers were. And then you are given the courtesy of being able to pay for your own data. Isn't that great? Isn't that fantastic? So there's if you really think about where that data is coming from, there is no incentive whatsoever to give that company legitimate data, and yet 7, 8, 9 figure decisions are being made on data that is mostly opinion and mostly, God, I just want to get off the phone. Here it was, whatever, hang up. That's where we're at. So it's part of the reason why it's so difficult to innovate in this space, to get people to really move data around, because there's so much opinion-based data and not enough factual information that you can really rely on to be able to make a good decision.
Well, it seems like one of the challenges is that the data, we were having this conversation this morning, that data, in most commercial real estate firms, data is everywhere. And so it's partially getting the right data out of all of that data. So I think you find that people tend to go to CoStar.
Yeah.
Hopefully nobody's here. But go to CoStar because it's easier than trying to pull together all that.
Well, because it's there. I mean, look, your Excel spreadsheets don't like have a party after you clock out at the end of the day and come together with great insights and be like, hey, you know, this deal, wasn't it great? You have files strewn across your hard drive, and how are you going to pull insights out of there? How are you going to understand how your last 5 deals are going to influence your next 5? Right now, it's so fragmented, and so that's one of the main issues.
Agreed. So, how do you make HVAC sexy, or you know, or the HVAC or the information that comes from it, you know, usable and sellable from your perspective?
Oh, perfect. So, great question. The you know, again, we're talking about data and you know how data is useful and how every commercial real estate company has data. Well, I would actually disagree with you there on the operations side, and HVAC specifically. That data is buried in an accounting system that is very hard to pull out. So on the HVAC side, what we do is we first start with an inventory of all of someone's HVAC equipment with the model number, serial number, manufacture date, the tonnage, the size, where it's located, and geotag everything. So for the very first time, someone can now look in their building and see how old any of their HVAC is. Before this was impossible. Like, no one has a list of their HVAC information. And then from that, we actually already have the largest organized database where, I mean, we're talking to very, very big REITs and very big real estate companies, and they're relying on us for the HVAC data because they can't get it out of their accounting systems. So we have it all the way down to the components, zip code, what things cost. So it's nice to see people, you know, starting to rely on us for that.
Okay. Mike, you hear all of these machine learning and artificial intelligence and 3D and virtual reality. And I think yesterday I actually took a home tour via virtual reality, you know, and you can walk through the house, right? And so what do you see as the big trends right now from a commercial real estate perspective, both now and where do you see things going?
I think a lot of those technologies actually point to a broader macro trend of consumerization. When this happened in IT a few years back, is when end users, tenants, occupiers, investors have the ability to go and preview a site, preview a listing, a property, a market, and actually touch and feel it and understand the context, they can make better decisions, better informed decisions, and they have a better working relationship with their broker representative as well. So a lot of those create better context, I think, for the properties or static data. Data on a PDF or data in a spreadsheet, can't do much with it, you can't interpret it. But drone views and 360 tours and some of the augmented reality technology, like what Florid's doing at Matterport, very exciting and helps people get better informed before they kick off that purchase decision. And like I said, that's what happened in IT a few years back. I think this percentage is up to like 73% of the purchase process is done for major IT purchases before an actual IT vendor is engaged. And I suspect the same type of thing is going to happen in commercial real estate. You'll have better informed tenants, investors, and occupiers showing up at your doorstep because the technology to experience commercial real estate in these great assets and markets will be there and will be mobile and at their fingertips.
Okay. What do you see? So, I mean, let's put it, do you agree? I mean, do you agree that the trend is going that way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're starting to see incredible things like VR and AR, and where you can see a space and view things that you were never able to do before technology, right? I mean, the PDF. I mean, it's amazing how many of our clients still ask to literally try to print screen a website and then they file it away in their file folders. And, you know, I think the trend here is that doesn't help anyone make better decisions. But you know, a PDF with looking at space with square footage and, you know, what you were saying, the measurables around a 5 mile circuit is dead. I mean, what people want to do is see inside a space, and they can do that with VR and AR now. Absolutely.
So going back to the original question and talking about the industry as a whole and it kind of lagging behind, how does that change? I mean, how do we change that? What's gonna drive the technology push for commercial real estate?
We have a saying internally that sunlight is the best disinfectant, and to be able to open the data sets and make them accessible to anyone at any time, pull them out from behind the paywall, will create new outcomes and new experiences, new interactions. So it's simply from our perspective, because we deal in a marketplace of commercial real estate data, it's about making it accessible, searchable, touchable, shareable from any device at any point for anyone.
Okay, so you want to add?
I totally agree with that, but there's two things that really concern me as part of this process. And one is that it seems like, from a slightly different outside perspective, that there's a little too much focus on AR and stuff like that, and not enough focus on the other processes that take place. Okay, making the decision that you want to acquire a property or that you want to sell a property is great, but then how are you going to actually get that done? It's ridiculous in 2017 that it can take anywhere from 1 to 3 months for a bank to make a decision on getting a deal done. Because throughout the process of moving data from one person to another, it's getting done over and over and over again. You have to wait for the appraiser, who in this day and age is just giving another opinion. It's not fact, it's an opinion on how it's going to work out, and that's just one of many. And when you don't have tools to help you filter operating fact from opinion, you're going to have these delays in the process. And there's a younger generation coming into this process who has their phone glued to their hand, okay? They're expecting apps and tools and data, and the process has to evolve. The flip side of that, along with what you were just saying a second ago about the
Sunlight's the best disinfectant?
Yeah, well,
opening data and making it mobile.
Opening your data and making it so. Throughout that process, there's so much data that's locked in. You have to be not just opening the data, but open to new ways of trying things, open to new processes and new considerations for how something should be done. Because there's so much inertia in this industry towards just, there's so many people in it, and it's been around for so long that it's standing still to a certain extent in terms of adoption. And guys like us up here are trying to get behind it and help push it forward. But we need people like you trying new things, opening your minds to new perspectives, and attempting to use new tools.
And so that brings up the the other side of the equation, which is, the tendency in a lot of cases is, especially in the brokerage side, is to kind of keep your information very close to the vest, and maybe you don't want to share the information because it might get somebody else might get the deal before you do, et cetera. So, how do you deal with the challenge of kind of that protective nature that exists out there with the data?
Well, and then there's a dark side to it too, because I've had conversations. I've been doing this with this particular business for 5 years, and I've had conversations with all different types of brokers, and I'm sure none of you in the room have ever done this, okay? But I talked to one of the top brokers in San Francisco, and about the platform and how you open your data and how you sell yourself when you are using a type of tool like this. And I was told, if our owners and our buyers knew how much it actually cost to run these properties, they wouldn't buy. And I've heard this time and time again, that this industry trades on either disinformation or a lack of information as your asset as a broker. That nothing could be further from the truth of what it should be. Your asset is understanding what's going on and being able to relay that on human terms to another potential buyer. And so that data has to be open. And in some ways, we have to kind of air the dirty laundry and be able to separate the fact from opinion. There's a tendency to want to hide it in order to get a deal done, and that can't happen anymore.
So, Mike, the other piece of this, and we heard it a little bit in the last panel. So, Neiman Marcus with the mirror and the makeup, and then the last. I was watching the room because I kind of knew what was coming. The last couple sentences were, then they can, understand your patterns and then track your purchasing and, so forth and so on. And even when we're in a room presenting, the GPS and footfall data, and people realize they know where I live, they know where I shop, they know, there can be a privacy and almost creepiness component to all this. So how do you get over that hump?
I think there's certain anonymities that you have to add into your data sharing capabilities. I mean, speaking of like Big Brother, we want to track behaviors to help our clients make better decisions, better marketing decisions, better listing decisions. But it's not down to the individual basis that Gregg was on our site clicking on these properties and that he spent 5 minutes on this one and 2 on this one. Call him now. There's a fine line there of making it anonymous, but providing enough insights that people can make decisions on. So these types of users tend to respond to these types of properties. They come from these sources, whether they be LinkedIn or search or direct web or email. And they also looked at properties like this, and they clicked on these most likely because there was more media, immersive experiences, AR capabilities, and so forth. Those are the types of insights we feel like are not crossing that creepy line, but also help accelerate business. And
how do you think, I don't know if, most people, they get in their car and they put their cell phone down and it says, you have 22-minute drive to your house now, and again, so a lot of people are okay with that, but some people aren't. So I think even this behavior, more on the retail side, obviously, in this case, but I think this behavior of this tracking there's still a huge dividing line, and people have become more and more, people, the hacks and the credit cards, theft and et cetera, bank accounts being compromised, the email stuff that's going on now where you're scared to open an email. So, again, I still, do you really, there seems to be a fear out there about too much technology, Big Brother, and it taking over. So, again, kind of, I know that's, I agree with the answer, I like it, but I'm still challenging you guys to go a little deeper because I still think that that's prevalent, especially in commercial real estate.
Well, from a data science standpoint, you have to have a clear separation of when is the data targeted specifically to you to help you make a decision, and when are you factoring a crowd into what individuals are doing in a particular space or for a particular reason. And so you can be super clear about when I log into a service and I'm looking at, say, my history of what I invest in, that I can gain insight from that through machine learning, but then it has to be clear that that data is anonymized and that beyond that point you're looking at crowds and you're looking at general trends and patterns and not trying to get too specific with it.
Keep it kind of retail focused for a second. The analogy would probably be shopper level data, IRI, Nielsen, and so forth. That's been tracked and kept for years now. Major grocery outlets create shopping patterns based upon what the basket looks like and registering and all those things. So this is more kind of the digital social version of that, I think. But there has to be a clear opt-in or opt-out. Right? If I see enough value in actually making my personal profile available or accessible to this service, because of what they're returning to me, I'll opt in. If I'm not, I opt out. And if we don't have that separation or option, then I think we'll get into trouble pretty quickly.
And I agree. We look at Costco, who has everybody's, they know when you're in because you give them the card and they know where you came from. They have your address. But I still think they're even taking it to another level. We looked at footfall data for and looking at consumer movement within inside the location of a Costco, and we actually looked at all the Costcos across the U.S., and we found that the same pattern exists across all Costcos. So again, data taken that way can be very valuable. They literally come in the entrance. Most people go straight down the middle of the Costco because that's where all the new items are, on the right, on the middle aisle, on the right and the left. And you see very little traffic on the outside where you get the 70 rolls of toilet paper and the 70 Diet Cokes and things like that. So again, I think if used the right way, it can make a huge difference. You probably don't have the same challenges, do you?
I was just going to say, I don't think anyone cares about their HVAC data with that. But with that, people do like to know where they stack in the spend line, right? So the nice thing is we can actually help a client say, hey, send us what you have right now. You're actually 30% more than folks in your same asset class, in your zip code, in your region, in your state. So that's kind of helpful in terms of, I was thinking like the Google flights. Whenever you go and say, hey, I want to buy a flight from here to there, it says at the top, buy now, buy later, or whatever percentage of confidence they have that this is a good price. So we can do the same thing on the expense side.
Okay.
Yeah, Yes, but no one wants our data for other reasons.
But in consumer side, there's examples of how this kind of data is used every day. For example, in retail, Walmart has a plan in their app where you can scan your receipt into the app, and they'll look for, if you got the best price, they'll give you a discount. But they're also tracking that data, right? So when you open up the Walmart shopping grocery app, I opened it up for the first time on my iPhone the other day, and it had all the stuff that I buy. Do you want to buy it again? To me, that was really neat. That's really cool because I know it's anonymized to me, or it's tied specifically to me, but I also know they are using that data to help define how they're purchasing product, how they're going to move it to warehouses and whatnot. On the flip side, I don't know if any of you saw, in the last panel they're talking about the effect of Amazon. Amazon's opening a grocery store where you can walk in, you have your app, your phone in your pocket, you take stuff off the shelf, and you walk out. You don't have to pay at all. Or you pay, but it's through the app because there are sensors in the building and there are sensors as you leave that track what you took out of the store and automatically charge you. Just think about the kind of data that's being gathered when you have that kind of experience, when RFID is in a grocery store tracking what people are taking off the shelves. Microsoft, Target, and other companies have shown demos of what that would look like. So
President company excluded. Most innovative tech companies in the CRE space. In CRE.
Ravti.
Or indirectly influencing commercial real estate in some.
I mean, I think the two biggest right now, obviously, are VTS and Hightower. Who uses VTS or Hightower in the room? Man. That's the biggest one, and there's 4 hands.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest in terms of venture. I mean, they just recently merged, and I think they're shedding light that this is an investable sector of tech, and it's being utilized. So I mean, I would say them aside, obviously, from Mike and RealMassive.
Stop sucking up.
I really like what Matterport's doing. I'm excited about their technology, and obviously that type of kind of AR, VR, immersive experiences caught the attention of what CB just bought, Floored, right? So I'm excited to kind of look to the periphery of, as an open platform, we have the benefit of being able to potentially partner with platforms like probably these guys as well. So I'm always scanning the space to see who's making moves, who's drawing the attention of some of the big brokerages, and I think Matterport's just doing a really kick-butt job right now. I like their technology.
Robert, anybody?
I'm trying to remember the name. There's a company that's doing multifamily leasing data.
Rentalytics? Is it Rentalytics?
No, it's not. They're a good one. No, it was. I don't remember. It's run by a woman by the name of Karen Mao.
You might know.
I don't remember. Anyways, they're great. I like the thing that I am excited about in this space is the trend towards more openness and the trend towards companies working together. So my view on this is that the data should be able to move from tool to tool to tool. You shouldn't have to import and export. You should just be able to log in and do something. And so the companies that are starting to partner up, and it doesn't necessarily have to be through an acquisition like VTS and Hightower, but in this space, I'm starting to see that trend where everything's kind of
Is that
together.
because, are companies partnering up because they, that's the next evolution, or because they have to? I mean, again, you just talked about probably one of the biggest mergers that's taken place in the commercial real estate tech, as well as, there's about 6 hands that went up. So, I mean, and is it getting to this place where the partnering and the acquisitions and mergers are happening out of necessity, or?
I want to see if you look at sales in like software as a service and what's going on in Silicon Valley right now, there's this huge trend towards specialization. People doing very specific things and doing that over and over and over again. So I don't see in the future where you're going to have a co-star trying to be one size fits all. I see that you're going to have a bunch of smaller companies that are like-minded, that partner together to enable a chain. For example, we're doing the financials. There are companies out there that will go take Excel data and suck it in and standardize it. I don't ever want to touch that. If I have to be in charge of a software development team that's generating PDFs, I'm going to shoot myself. I want somebody else, a company like BuildOut, that's going and doing that for me so that I can connect to their thing. And that's, I think, where the tool is going to go, where you'll have mix and match, pick the tools that work for you, and it'll show you the spectrum of what works together. And I think that's out of necessity because you've seen what happens when companies get too big for their britches, where they have too much responsibility.
Yeah, I think on that too. I think commercial real estate certainly wants one dashboard or one login that they can do everything from. And I don't think they understand the intricacies of what it is, right? I mean, if we have our clients almost every day say, we love you for HVAC, can you do our roofing? Can you do our plumbing? Can you do everything? And at the end of the day, we want to be laser focused on HVAC because it's a huge spend and it's a huge problem. Yeah. So I think, it's kind of the ebb and flow there. I mean, certainly, I'm sure almost everyone in this room has bought something from Amazon recently, right? Well, 10 years ago, they were just a bookstore. Right? So, and people still bought books because they were the absolute best at delivering books. They've just been able to add other things as well. So, I guess I put that back on commercial real estate and challenge, say, hey, you know what? This is the best in class for this service. We're going to use this. And then, worry about integrating down the road because realistically, we can do that from a tech side very easily through APIs. So if for instance, or when we want to pull that data into VTS or RealMassive or wherever that is, our developers would love to talk APIs with these folks as well.
Questions from the audience?
This is the luxury of being between them and drinks. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you guys don't ask questions, you don't get drinks. So.
Hey guys.
What about autonomous vehicles?
So I have a question. There was a lot of discussion about commercial real estate firms being laggards, in adopting new technology. And I think for a lot of us, it's the risk and the reward associated with it. So,
whoever speaks, can you stand up so we can
sure.
see who's...
Yeah, so there was a lot of discussion about commercial real estate firms being laggards in adopting technology. And so it's a risk and reward. How much money or time do we want to put into looking into your technology? So, and Ravti happens to be a company that we started working with 2 years ago, and it's been very profitable. But the question is to you guys, how do you help us, feel like it's a good decision? Does that make sense?
Perfect. An ROI piece as well.
So I would actually, let's use a tech company for an example here, Facebook. I absolutely love Facebook, think they're absolutely phenomenal. Zuckerberg, I think, is one of the best CEOs and will continue to be for decades. So one of the things that's really interesting about Facebook is right now when we log in and everyone logs in around the world, they literally have thousands of different interfaces that are being tested throughout all of the user base. So they're testing these thousands of different interfaces that we don't even know. Buttons change, content changes, all these things change, and what they're doing is they're gathering that data and improving the entire platform of Facebook based on what information and data we're giving them. So they're just continuing to iterate by trying different things. So I think the one thing that I would push, every MD, every SVP in this room is try real estate tech. Get someone in your organization who we can be the point person for, and have them be that point person that we can go to, set meetings, and try it on a subset of your portfolio. Because hate to toot my own horn here, but we've never had a client cancel in 5 years. We've only grown.
That's
so
great.
Give us that opportunity to show you how we can help your portfolio, and we'll continue to do that. So I would say give us a point person that we can try with.
I think that question actually kind of relates to Gregg's last one, and maybe it is a function of necessity. If there is a laggard adoption rate within the industry for technology, throwing 50, 60, 70 tech solutions at you at once, I mean, you look at the brandscape that CRE Tech releases, it's getting overwhelming, right? Yeah. So how do you choose which one or two we're going to test or try? And the way we're trying to address it is learn as much as we can about your pain points. What is your number one pain point? We hear every single meeting is data is inaccurate, it's stale, and it's a pain in the ass to manage. So when you take that off your plate and prove to you that you're going to save time as opposed to learn a new tool, then hopefully that will earn your trust to try new things and start to operate within the platform. The second thing is it's got to be native. You all are out and about, you're building relationships, you're doing deals. Probably this is as close as you want to get to your computer. So if we're not starting mobile first, then we're not doing our job. Mobile first isn't just, do you have an app? Mobile first means in design, in the way you create content, the way you make it visual, bite-sized, shareable, all those things. So I don't know if it answers your question, but we're trying and we have open ears. And the more that you can share what things will help accelerate your day or save time or help you do deals faster, that's where we're going to focus our innovation efforts.
So I'm going to take a little bit different approach on it, because I think the question is something that is on everybody's mind is, okay, there's MIT is tracking 400 different commercial real estate tech companies, okay? You're probably going to use 2 or 3, maybe 5, if we're lucky. It's not if you're lucky, if we're lucky, okay? So the thing that we can do to help you and that you can do to help us, okay? When you are evaluating a tool, be direct with us about what you need, but at the same time understand that there are so many people in this industry and so many diverse needs that we're not going to meet everybody's needs for everything. So I can't tell you the number of times where I've gotten pushback because, well, it does this, but it doesn't do that. Well, you know, we calculate the IRR over 10 years, but you don't have this. Well, you need this part. And don't expect from an industry that's trying to help you and trying to push the industry forward, you can't expect perfection at this point. We're not Facebook. We don't have the resources of Facebook to make the product perfect 100% of the time for everybody. So when you're evaluating those tools, take that with a grain of salt. How we can help you with that process and making it easier is by creating great experiences and trying to understand what it is you're doing on a daily basis and how to get it done more effectively. We don't want you to waste your money or waste your time because there's a finite amount of both. So, but that is kind of a symbiotic relationship because it needs your feedback. It needs you to try something different and then open yourself up to the experience and then tell us how we can be better. And I promise you, everybody on this panel, anybody in commercial real estate, we just want to make the industry better, and we're dying for your feedback. So,
other questions?
People want to have a one-stop shop and everything that rolls up. So I hear people saying we can't find that one-stop shop, but instead, and Mike, you mentioned it, you have multiple folks that are specialists in different things. Are there tools that you're seeing from a dashboard perspective that maybe you have multiple tools that you're using? You're using VTS, you're using Property Capsule, you're using Ravti. Is there a dashboard tool that you all like where it pulls, and maybe that's the API thing you're talking about, but let's put it in non-tech terms, that it pulls the information from these various sources? I hear people talk about Tableau, that they like that. What do you all like as a centralized place of having this information?
That's kind of what we want to be. I mean,
it's Mike, okay.
Yeah. No, we actually heard it yesterday. We met with Kyle Wood at Bishop Beal, and by the end of the meeting, he said, can you guys just be a suite of sorts? Like, as I'm thinking about VTS, I like what BuildOut's doing. This makes sense to me too. Can you create a suite? And we can't do it tomorrow, but I think that's the end goal is you don't operate in disconnected kind of work streams. You have to operate across the stack, and we need to make that easier for you. So that's why APIs matter to us. That's why open platforms.
Can you describe what an API is to the rest of us?
I'm going to pass that to Alex.
API is an advanced program interface. So what it is basically think of everything that we have in Ravti and all the data, all the HVAC, all that stuff. Well, kind of what we're talking about, you don't have to log into different systems. So what our developer would do is give literally just a simple line of code to another service, and they would take that simple line of code, and it would allow them into our system to gather all the data points that they need to display. So basically, it's just a very, very simple way of sharing data where the team displaying the data doesn't have to write the logic and the code behind it. And if you ask developers what their favorite thing in the world is, it's APIs. They love being able to share that data with just little snippets. So for instance, like Stripe is a credit card payment, another YC company, but they are a credit card processor, and odds are almost anything you buy outside of Amazon probably uses Stripe. But from you as the user, you can't tell the difference that it's actually pinging Stripe. So Stripe will actually be used and embedded into another website. So if that makes
So
sense.
as a software developer, I do have to kind of clarify a little bit, only because it sounds easy, it sounds great, that they're incredibly difficult to make and they're incredibly difficult to get right. But at the core, an API is about describing data in a way that two or more systems can understand it so that they can share that information. And the thing to think about, there are companies that have acquired other tools. It's gonna escape me. REI-wise was bought by, you guys, any, it's right on the tip of my tongue.
Well,
but the issue is that when you acquire, let's say, I don't know if any of you remember, REI-wise was bought by a parent company and they tried to integrate these tools together. When you do that and you're trying to integrate technology, there's a massive amount of software development work that goes into making that happen that often takes years. And for example, Argus still hasn't gotten into the point where they can be delivered fully on the web. So these technologies are difficult to move in and of themselves. I don't know that it's a good idea to expect that there is going to be these suites that just gelatinously come together and provide that for you.
Well, but I think there's a desire to do that. All of you have expressed it, but I think that's the next generation of CRE tech.
Yeah.
I think it's been somewhat ruined by what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, there's CoStar and even the things that have, LoopNet, things that have come off of that, like Xceligent and other services, Arguses of the world, et cetera, that have tried to be either everything to everybody and rule the space.
Yeah.
And so I think that it didn't really get brought up, but my answer to why it kind of lags behind is I think that historically that's kind of, the experiences have been somewhat poor with some of those previous experiences, and now that this new wave of tech is coming through, there's a hesitancy to go out and engage multiple and or even one at times because of those past experiences. So I think that there's a little bit of that as well.
Well, and it comes on your end too. You've been burned. You've been burned by products before, and so there's a hesitancy that, well, I don't want to waste my time on this. I don't want to, but at the same time, if you don't use the tool to the point where we can collect the data, then we can't partner up with other companies and show that working together we have more value. So it's a very symbiotic relationship. We need you, and there's at least a younger generation that needs us. We're hoping that that there's an older generation that needs us too. So
we got time for one more if anybody's got a question. I think everybody wants to drink.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little PSA for social, a little nod to Julie, right? We should all be creating social content. I'm going to create some social content from up here on the stage. I think John Crossman and I are the only ones doing Instagram today.
All right.
All right, smile, guys. UF, Trends Conf, hashtag.
Yeah. So there has been a change in the location for drinks. So Seminoles can go somewhere else, but everybody else. It is now in Regency Ballroom O versus outside. I think it was because there's a 40% chance of rain and they wanted to be safe than sorry. So Regency Ballroom O is where the drinks are, and everybody's welcome.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.